So Top Hat and Miss Jane came to see what had happened. "Boom," said Topham Hat. He asked. Thomas felt terrible. He knew what he had done, but he couldn't tell Topham Hat and the other engines. Thomas felt too ashamed, so he said nothing. So Topham Hat was very cross. The other engines started to whisper. Snorted James. Asked Toby. Peeped Percy. But he was worried. Thomas felt very bad. He puffed slowly away. Thomas found an old track. He wanted to be alone. He puffed sadly. Standing puffed towards Thomas. He saw that Thomas looking sad and alone. He chuckled to himself. He felt very sorry for him. Later, Sir Topham had gathered all the engines together. He announced sternly, "The engines gasped." He added, Thomas had let Sir Topham Hat down. He had to let the other engines know, and he had to let himself down. The other engines chuffed away. No one spoke to Thomas. He was no longer in charge, and he felt he was no longer wanted. That night, all the other engines were asleep in their sheds, but not Thomas. Jack and Alfie had already loaded their cars in the rubble. Thomas wanted to do something to get back to his old jobs. So Thomas started shunting the freight cars away. Thomas worked very hard. He felt very pleased to himself. Then Thomas saw one last freight car. It had front in an old mine shaft. Thomas smiled. Then there was trouble. Thomas bit the car too hard, and it forward and disappeared in the mine. Explained Thomas. Thomas rolled forward and peered inside. It was very dark. He huffed, and Thomas puffed into the mine. It was very dark. Thomas was happy. He had a bright lamp on. He saw the runaway car rolling away. Then it disappeared around a bend. Puffed Thomas. The slope was very steep. Thomas whizzed down it and clattered around the bend. Up Thomas whooshed and down he whooshed. Thomas whistled and he cried. It was very scary but very exciting. Thomas had almost caught up to the freight car. He wheezed happily, but Thomas didn't see the junction ahead. The freight car whizzed down the right track, and Thomas sped down to the left. Thomas had lost the runaway car. But his roller coaster ride was so much fun, Thomas soon forgot about the runaway car. Then there was trouble. The tunnel ahead was blocked, cried Thomas, and he applied his brakes, but it was too late. Thomas straight through the blocked tunnel. With a mighty splash, Thomas landed in the pool of water. He gasped. It didn't feel like fun anymore. It felt scary. He wished quietly. Thomas drifted slowly forward. There was nothing he could do. Thomas gasped as he floated along the tunnel. He tooted loud as he could. He cried, but there was no one there to hear the whistle. Thomas wailed. The next morning, Stanley, James, Gordon, Percy, Henry, Emily, and Toby had arrived for work. Stanley asked. The engines looked. Thomas wasn't there. As they fought hard, no one knew where Thomas was. James was worried. He asked the little engines at the junction. James puffed. None of the little engines hadn't seen Thomas either. Percy called Jack and his team. Percy, Jack and his team fought hard, but none of them had seen Thomas. Thomas drifted along the tunnel. He realized he was moving faster. He cried as he raced through the tunnel. So Thomas was called. Edward puffed. Whoosh, Emily. Peeped Percy. Boom, said Topham Hat. Everyone agreed, and they had to find Thomas at once. He boomed importantly. And that's the end of this part.